Ferris? What? Where's Ferris Mueller gone and why is my lead still there? What in the world? It's still not there after a relog. But the lead's still there. What? Okay, this is just weird. What am I supposed to do without a mule? Problem solved? Well, that was a sad way to start an episode, but we've got lots to be getting on with today. Last episode, we did, of course, create our sugarcane farm, and we opened our rocket shop, which, thinking of, actually, let's quickly go see if we've sold any. Well, there's 3 diamonds in there, another 4 in there, and we sold some carrots as well. Excellent. More carrots. Well, we haven't sold out, but we have made 10 diamonds, which is, you know, that's fine. I'm down with that. And that means we've still got plenty to sell and we don't need to worry about restocking just now. Wow, those portals are loud. So between episodes, we have been grinding up lots of resources ready for today's project, but we've also been doing a little bit of work over at the industrial district. And now the structure, especially at the bottom, is looking a bit more solid, if it's also looking a little bit more prison-y, but we can look past that. So last episode, we did install our stone generator, which has been working a treat, and our firework construction station, which has also been working well. We have many fireworks backing up in the system. But since then, I've made some progress down here. I've expanded the storage system, so this is all auto-sorted storage as well now. And to be honest, some of the resources we're already collecting are already overflowing. So a little bit more storage down here is not going to be a bad thing. But one of the problems we have been having is getting up and down the different levels. So I've also installed a quite simple elevator. It's actually the same as the one we used last season, where when we jump in, we get stopped on each floor. We can press a button and that will let us go up to the next. But we've only got 3 floors to worry about, so just the one button this time. But it's very straightforward. It's essentially just a piston that pulls the soul sand block out of the way to let you through and then pushes it back in, which reinstates all the bubbles that send you back to the top. But this means we can easily get into this storage room here, where I have actually started also storing bookshelves and lanterns, because we've been doing lots and lots of trading upstairs and trying to get our stocks of glass and quartz up mainly. But it's also quite handy to have some bookshelves and lanterns coming in too. But most importantly, you may notice that we've also cleaned up the area around here a bit. We no longer have the rail coming over from the village, we no longer have the zombie curing thing, and that's because our villager trading hall is finally completely full. So we've got every single book type coming in, or at least every single book type we're going to need. We have, of course, got our masons, we've got our farmers, a couple of Fletchers for when needed, but we've also now got 12 clerics. And the main reason for these is not just for selling zombie flesh, but also for buying redstone dust, because I don't really have much and I'm going to be needing a lot, and this seemed like a nice efficient way of getting it. I've also got a couple of armourers, a toolsmith and a weaponsmith as well, just for replacing equipment, and with that I think we have everything we could possibly need up here. And the sorting system itself, we just put a break in the system here, which makes it drop down to the next floor, it goes around the bottom floor, and then it gets sent back up here again and carries on its journey. So stuff can still do a full loop if it misses pickup on the first try, but this should make things a whole lot easier for us moving forwards. Starting with the storage we're going to need for today's project, because this farming area is coming along well, but you know what it needs? It needs more farms. So today, I think what we're going to do is maybe expand... Oh, what a landing. Maybe expand the side here and here. And I think I want to get some kelp farms in, because fuel is one thing we are still not self-sufficient on, and kelp is pretty much the easiest way for us to do that. So size-wise, I think if I pull them down to this level, the same as these sides, that should give us plenty of room for kelp. But something I do want to make sure I'm doing is also cooking the kelp once it grows. So I want it to grow, I want it to cook, and then I want it to get stored. But what I have to consider is once I've got the cooked kelp, I then need to convert it into kelp blocks, and I need to refuel the burners that are actually cooking the kelp. So it will start generating more and more kelp over time, but I need to make sure that the fuel is actually getting into the different smokers. And that means I need to find somewhere to put these smokers, but we'll tackle that in a little while. First things first, I'm going to head back to main base, by which of course I mean the site of where Ferris Mule had randomly disappeared, and I still don't understand that. Maybe it was a chunk border thing? I don't know. But he definitely didn't die because the lead is still there. He just disappeared. But we're going to head back there, we're going to grab the resources we need, and we're going to make a start on these kelp farms. First up, platforms. Is it below that bit? And there we go. I think that's pretty much all we're going to be able to fit in on each half, because that brings us... yeah, that brings us to the middle, which is there. So if we mark that off, we should be able to do the same on the other side. And what is that? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 rows of 7 plants on each side. That's maths. But that should give us quite a lot, because we're going to have another one of those here, and then of course 2 more on that side. And that should be plenty of kelp to solve our fuel needs, hopefully, maybe. So to actually fire the pistons, I think I want to put an observer there and then grab some redstone dust. Is this going to be far enough? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Excellent. So we don't need to worry about using any repeaters or anything like that. However, we do need to worry about transferring the signal upwards. So if we do that, then have an observer that looks down onto that line, then we put another line in. Okay, and that's the last one of those in. So in theory, if we go down to the bottom and just trigger that first observer, it should fire all the pistons in sequence. Maybe. So if we just stick a block on the front of that... well, that seemed to work. That fired all the pistons. Excellent. So now we need to get this enclosed. And although I'm going to be using glass, I think this middle bit here might be a bit better if we didn't use glass. So maybe making use of the blackstone here, maybe? A deep slate even? I keep calling this stuff blackstone. I know it's not blackstone. So I think looks-wise, what we want to do is make sure that we do have tinted glass on the inside, because once again, we've got light in this farm, and we don't want it to mess with the mob farm. So using the tinted glass here should solve that issue, although it's going to make it extremely dark on the actual spawn platform itself. But that's fine, it's made of glass, nothing can spawn there. And with the glass in place, that pretty much completes one module. Although I do still need to sort out the top here. Let's just quickly sort that out and then spawn-proof it. So buttons again. There we go. But that is 1/4, I suppose, of our kelp farms done. We're going to have one of those on either side, and that's actually going to leave a tunnel through the middle for us as well, which is more important than you might think, because we still need to be able to get to this platform. And I don't know if we're going to be doing anything below these farms, but if we do, we want to make sure we've still got access. So this works out quite nicely. For now, however, it's time to repeat that on this side, and once we've got both of these up, we will actually get the kelp planted and we'll sort out the collection system. But for now, let's just get this in. That step complete, we now have 2 modules ready for the farm. However, they're not full of water yet, so we need to get the water in, we need to get the kelp in, we need to get the collection system in, and the redstone hopper clock. So it looks like I can just about squeeze a hopper clock inside, well, inside the other one of these walls. So if I get it on this side, this will actually trigger all of them on both sides because of the way I've rigged up the redstone on this side. It actually just kind of mirrors and takes the signal from the top there. So in theory, if I put in 5 stacks of that in there and get the rest of it... oh, my, this is loud. Right, let me... oh, I need a block. I need one of those. And I need one of those. And there we go. Right, that should stop it. So now that should fire once every 5 minutes, and it should literally fire the pistons here, and then it will go up, across the top, and back down this side, firing all 10 rows. So the next step is to do the water, and I think I'm just going to see if I can fly in that gap. No, oh, no, that did not work at all. But yeah, next step, water. Let's get that in. So the last thing we need to do up here with the water is to push everything that gets harvested off into the middle here. So I think the easiest way for me to do that is going to be to use some slabs. And in theory, that should create a flow that will just push everything off in that direction. But, well, we'll see. Hopefully it works. If we now remove this platform, that should leave all the water still just flowing over to the edge there, which is exactly what we want. We just need to mirror this on that side now. And there we go, the second one is done. So, I still need to get the kelp in there, but before I do that, I do want to work out exactly how we're going to cook it, because kelp is pretty much useless until it's actually cooked, and then it becomes a great fuel source. So all the resources this produces are of course going to be pushed down onto this platform, which means they're then going to be collected and they're going to be taken into our storage room. However, what we need to do is intercept the kelp before it actually gets into main storage and cook it up, and I'm wondering if we can make use of at least one of these corners, maybe put in a couple of filters here to pull out the kelp, quickly cook it, and then dump it back into the system down below, because below here is, the second row of the system. So in theory, we could just filter it down, cook it, and dump it back in down the bottom there. There is not a lot of space here though, so yeah, this could take a little bit to work out. Let's see what we can do. Well, it's a little bit tight, but I have managed to get 3 smokers in, and I have a feeling I might need more than one of these in order to keep up, but we'll see how it goes with the kelp once it starts producing. But it's fairly straightforward. We have a couple of filters there that will take out the kelp and then pump that into the furnaces. We've got this little system at the back here, which I'll show you in a moment, which is for refueling, and we can do that from downstairs. And lastly, if I drop down a level here, you can see what's going on. So I will be sorting out this area here, and this is just going to be somewhere where we can dump all of the kelp blocks into. This will push them round this way into this water tunnel, which will of course have soul sand, and that will refuel the system. Any leftovers then get dropped down straight back into the water tube here. So that way, what that means is we can store all of the cooked kelp on this side, and then we can store kelp blocks on this side, and we can just use this as our refueling platform for it. The more kelp we get, the more cooked kelp we get, and so on. So that will multiply over time. So I'm going to run off and get the bits I need to get this finished, and hopefully when I bring you back, I can show you a working system, although we do still need to plant some kelp as well. I think we are ready. I've got the filters in up here for the kelp, and I've made sure that all of this is linked up and working correctly. This is fueling the systems. I've just fueled it with some planks for now, and of course that is all backed up, so that should at least get it started. However, we're not actually farming the kelp yet. But down here I've also got designated areas for any kelp that doesn't get cooked, so this will allow us to monitor if we actually need to add more cookers or not initially. I am hoping to eventually get rid of this area completely, because ideally we want it to all get cooked, because once again this is just useless. All the cooked stuff will come through on this side, we can then craft it into blocks, throw it in here, and that will fuel up the system. So in theory, everything should be up and running and working and so on, apart from, as I say, the need to actually plant the kelp. So let's find some space to empty my inventory, and conveniently, as we're in the ocean, getting kelp is not going to be a problem. See, look, it's literally just on my doorstep. Oh, that's a lot of kelp, maybe too much. But this should be fairly straightforward. We've just got to plant rows and rows of kelp. The row right at the top, however, at the back, will not get harvested, but it will create a nice wall and a divide between the two farms. So I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. Oh, well, it's just fired, and our first couple of pieces of kelp have already been harvested. And this should just shoot straight over the edge. And... Okay, that's not happening for some reason. I wonder if maybe replacing some of these with slabs would help? Yep, slabs definitely helps. Stuff can get straight up and over. So I think I'm going to go get some of the deep slate, use some deep slate slabs here. But that's at least going to make sure everything can get up and over these ledges, because look, yeah, they're getting stuck there as well, and that is obviously not ideal. Well, apparently that is not working either, but I have one more trick up my sleeve, which I'm hoping will work fine. The problem is I've made the farm maybe one block a little bit too wide, so the water's not getting the momentum it needs in order to throw the kelp over the edge, especially if the kelp is in one of the front rows. But I think I can solve this using fence gates. At least that's my hope. Let's give it a go. Well, that hasn't worked either, because essentially what we've got is a solid water block here. So when stuff comes up, in fact, here's a good example, you'll see it will go into this area and then just kind of stop. And obviously that's not ideal. These ones are stopping because, well, they're not even waterlogged. And these ones are stopping because this is not a flowing block. So I don't think the fences are going to work. But if I was just to replace this last block with blue ice, I should give it enough momentum to go all the way over. At least this is kind of my last-ditch effort at this stage. I'm doing everything in my power not to have to make this farm thinner, because I don't want to have to rebuild it and fill it up with water again. That was painful. Nope, we're still having the same problem, which basically leaves me with only one solution. And thankfully, the farm's tall enough for this to work. So, first step, let's remove this top layer of water, and we're going to need to remove the second layer as well, and we're just going to have to do it as like a stepped water pour-y type thing. It's fine, it just means we are going to need some fence gates after all, but purely to prevent the water pouring out the front, because we need to have it so it goes across, down, and then across again. This is all turning out to be a lot more painful than I'd originally hoped. Okay, this should work much better. Let's hope the kelp goes, and look at that, straight over the edge. The question is going to be, will these ones at the front make it over? And they will. Excellent. So, yeah, a little bit more painful trying to get the water to flow in the right direction, but at least it now works. We've just got to replicate this on the other side. Well, it seems to be working. We have some dried kelp coming through already. The question is, will it be able to keep up, and will it continue to work? So, I'm going to just sit up here AFK for an hour or so, and see what we end up with. If we end up with lots of excess kelp, we know we need to add more smokers. If we don't, then we can crack on with the second kelp farm and maybe add more smokers after that if it can't keep up. But to be honest, it doesn't look like it's backing up or anything like that, so we should be fine. This one, however, oh, I see what's happening. The fuel's all gone in here and the kelp's all gone in there. That's not a problem, we just need a bit more fuel. And there we go. So currently only one smoker is running, but of course this is starting to back up. And then once that gets completely backed up, it will start cooking with the second one, and then maybe even the third one at some point in future. But let's go AFK for a bit, and then we'll check on this in a little while and see how it's doing. A few hours later, and I can confirm the smokers are indeed keeping up. This one does get used occasionally, but mainly this is the one that's in use. And that is with all 4 of the kelp farms installed. We managed to get the rest of them done. Everything's finished. In fact, one of them's just fired. Look at all that lovely, glorious kelp. But it is working really well. So all I need to do now is to go AFK for a while and build up my fuel reserves a little bit more, and while we're doing that, I can keep trading with the villagers and do other things around here. I need lots of stone as well for some future projects, and from a distance, that complex is really starting to come along. I've just got to figure out what it's actually going to look like when it's done. I don't really know yet. We've still got more farms we want to add to this place, but we'll be saving that for the next episode. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye now. What?